Well, hello and welcome back to the Manifesting Millions podcast. I am Amy Van Meijl, your host and voice in your ear. I'm fresh off a workout today. It's been a very interesting amount of time in my life, and I found myself today. So currently, at the recording of this podcast, I'm supposed to be 57 minutes away from launching the first live Manifesting a Million Moments of Joy masterclass. And I say supposed to because I've had a few people sign up, but I haven't figured out the system for actually getting people registered into specific live sessions. So the few people that have signed up so far, I know aren't available for today's session. And I've been flexing today to find something different. I've been finding myself in quite the funk, in particular the last few weeks, but definitely for a while. I've spoken with lots of friends and colleagues about feeling that there is this like big moment of transition. Like I feel like I'm at the gateway of, I suppose, the next stage in my life. It's an interesting time. It's a weird time. I'm not going to lie. I'm not super enjoying it. If you've been at those gateways before, and I would say if you're older than 21, you've probably been at those gateways before. They're weird times, and they can become wormholes or downward spirals into real darkness. And it's funny to be at that place and at the same time working to get learning and wisdom and knowledge out about creating more joy. And it's so easy. Oh my goodness. The imposter syndrome is for reals. It's so easy to go, how can I teach about joy? How can I share knowledge about creating and manifesting more joy when I'm in like this weird place of funk, right? And we could end there, full stop. We could just be finished and go, okay, that's the end of it, and carry on. But that's not what we're going to do, because life doesn't just end when you hit the next transition or you hit that gateway. You can spiral down, you can go backwards, which is a popular choice for myself and I'm sure many others. You can try to do to get yourself out of it. There's that hashtag hustle culture and that, rise and grind kind of mentality, which I 100% do not ascribe to. I don't believe in hustling and grinding just to hustle and grind. It's a useless waste of energy, and we're so much more than that. I'm not going to get on a tirade on hustling and grinding because I could. And I think I've spoken about it before. What I want to talk about today, actually, is how to shake the funk. Like when you're in that kind of space, when maybe things aren't moving quite in the direction or at the speed that you wanted them to, or maybe you just are like, I know there's something more. I know that there's something different. I feel like I should be doing something else, but I don't have a fucking clue what that might be. That's what we're going to talk about today. Shaking out that funk. Now, I think that I have mentioned this in the past, but if I haven't, I'm going to just say it here for the first time. One of the big things for me is exercise and movement. So the last few months have been very interesting. My energy has been very low. I lost all sort of like drive to move, to work out. I would finish work and be exhausted and need a nap. And I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, what is going on? I had so many physical things going on. I was feeling nauseous every day. I would get headaches. I just had this tremendous pressure around my heart. So then I was also worried, like, oh God, if I get on the treadmill, am I going to have a heart attack? Like, am I going to become one of those statistics? I'm 39, had a heart attack on the treadmill. My mind went down the holes. And it took me taking a step away from work to realize, and a friend who was very insightful that said, hey, look up the symptoms of extreme burnout, before I realized what was going on. And when I finally stepped back from work, I had the opportunity to take a leave. A lot of those symptoms started to go away, and it actually took a very short amount of time for some very, very odd things. Like, I was craving junk food. I've shared a little bit that I've released some weight over the last year and a half. And much more importantly, I've learned a much healthier relationship with food and how to balance what the desires, because I'm a living, breathing human woman who still wants chocolate and chips on occasion, but how to balance those desires with what my body actually needs. They couldn't figure out why I was craving all this junk food. I was like, what is going on? I'm getting married in the fall, so then all the fears started to speak real loud in my mind of, oh God, what if I gain all the weight back and now I don't fit into my wedding dress? I don't want to get married and feel like a failure when I've done the work and I know it's possible. Like all that stuff started speaking in my mind. Within 2 days of stepping back from work, those cravings for junk food went away. And it was amazing to me. I was like, holy crap. I knew when I was in those moments, those cravings and wanting to have all the sweets or the treats, I knew that there was something else going on, a psychological influence happening versus, my body just needing sugar. But I couldn't seem to shake out of it. And once that went away and I had even the tiniest bit of perspective of time, I went, oh, right. I'm seeking comfort, and food has always been a comfort to me. I think that's I'm sure many of us were raised that way, that like you turn to food for comfort. In particular, if you had relationships that are, I'm going to air quote this, supposed to be nurturing, but weren't supportive or nurturing for you in your life. Food's an easy way to find some comfort, and we're modeled that behavior, right? We're modeled it in movies and TV shows, and it's what we see. So that's what we think is the answer. If we can't find comfort and safety in the relationships with others, then where is our next easiest place to find it? And in particular, if you're financially strained, it's hard to like try and find other ways to nurture yourself. But hey, a bucket of ice cream is like $5. Everybody can afford that, right? So that was very interesting to me. Shortly thereafter, I also noticed a big uptick in a drive for fruits and vegetables in particular. Some proteins, not a lot. Really lots of fruits especially, some veggies. But it was the shift in my body that was very interesting. So that's been happening the last few weeks, moving back to a more balanced intake of food, I suppose. I don't want to say diet, because diet is just what we eat, but intake of food, being more balanced in that way. So then I'm still finding myself in this funk. And I have a great, I work with a rapid resolution therapist, which has been really insightful. And a few weeks ago, we had a session talking about all that was going on and kind of what I was thinking the next step for me was, which was in particular around work. What do I think? Where do I think I want to go? And she held up a mirror to me to say, you can go that route, but that's not actually where you're meant to be. You know that, but you're hiding from it, which is why it feels so painful. It's becoming painful because you're ignoring where you're supposed to be going. And really, where you're supposed to be going is leaning into that desire that's been burning in your heart for so long. And that's what cued the whole, putting my ass into gear, putting together a very simple sales page, launching the course on manifesting joy, which in full disclosure, I've had written for months. It's been ready. It's been waiting forever. It's, I've known for a while that I wanted to do it, and just couldn't seem to get myself going. So having that mirror held up was really helpful. And then shortly thereafter, I went down the wormhole of, oh my God, but then I have to do this, and 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 then I don't know what that is going to be, and then that's going to cost money, and then blah, blah, blah. If you've ever done any kind of initiation, you're creating a project or starting a new job or anything, you'll know the wormhole of which I speak. So I sat there for a little while, and it's such a not fun place to be. So then there's lots of projects going on in my life as well. We're building a fence right now. A really good friend of ours is moving. I've been helping with some decorating ideas and taking down light fixtures and putting up light fixtures and trying to help move and planning for the wedding and, lots and lots of things, lots of physical things, which are great because they don't take a lot of concentration necessarily. It's good to move in that physical way. And that was a way that I could kind of balance out this pressure that I felt myself building with relation to launching this course. And then this weekend, we had a great work day, and Sunday was a complete day of rest. Total day of rest, because we worked our asses off on Saturday. And I was very, very busy the week before as well. So Sunday was just a day of doing nothing. And I found myself back in this funk. I'm like, oh, there it is again. That sense of, I don't really know what I'm doing, what's next. I feel like I'm failing already, but I haven't really started. So how can I be failing? And I spent some time reading up on a little bit of astrology. I find astrology very, very interesting. I find it interesting to kind of give some insight into some of the things that I didn't realize are unique to me, but are also patterns and habits that are kind of inbuilt. And that was very interesting. I won't dive into the rabbit hole of all the things that I learned, but a couple of simple things that stood out to me. So I'm a Virgo sun and a Capricorn rising. And both signs are I like to think of them, I've sort of figured out a way of thinking of them as slow movers. We don't, to what I can understand, we don't rise early. And by that I mean there's going to be exceptions to every rule. So if you're a Virgo or Capricorn, don't take this as the God's honest truth. This is my perception of what I've been reading and how I see this overlaying into my life. We're not, I've always felt frustrated and a tremendous amount of pressure that I need to be big young, right? Nobody really celebrates oh my God, you finally did it when you were 55. Good job. Most people are oh my God, this person's 25 and they're a multimillionaire already. Show me your ways. Virgos are not built like that. Virgos are the slow burn. One of the books that I read a while ago, I literally wanted to throw the book against the wall, but really was very interesting to me was the idea that Virgos are awkward teenagers, and we generally actually don't come into our own until a little later in life. And that feels very true to me. I always found myself spending time with more mature people who are older than me. I never really bought into all the like big partying and the just kind of general frivolity of being a teenager or even being in my 20s. And I often felt like I was missing out, but I just genuinely didn't really want to do it. It just wasn't really big to me. And then I read this and went, oh, okay, cool. Well, that's good to know. And then Capricorns we're the goats. We will keep climbing heights. We will keep toiling and working hard. We're consistently moving in an upward direction. One of the things that stood out to me that I read yesterday is that Capricorns are often those rags to riches stories, which I'm like, yay, I've done the rags. I'm on my way to the riches, baby. But again, slow moving, not fast, not big, we're not those overnight successes. Again, I say with air quotes, more slow moving, but being someone who is a slower moving or a slower developing, I suppose, person in a world that really celebrates and exemplifies the success stories that are fast, that are flashy, that happen when you're younger is a really, really hard place to be. It's really fucking frustrating when you're like, cool. So I turned 40 this year and I haven't made $1 million. I haven't, made these massive impacts. I'm not in a magazine. Like Forbes isn't knocking on my door. What have I even accomplished in my life? Like, what is even the point, right? It's really hard to sit in that and then knowing that that's not actually how you're meant to be. And I found myself often thinking, maybe, Amy, maybe your journey isn't to be that person that shows what's possible when you're younger. Maybe your journey is to be the person that shows what's possible when you keep going and you become the example for someone in their 40s or their 50s or their 60s. I think everybody can relate across all ages and generations, but it's harder maybe to relate if you're in your 60s to someone who's seeing extreme success in their 20s, where it might be easier to relate to someone if you're, say, in your 60s to someone who's in their 40s or their 50s. That's small consolation because I still don't know that that's exactly what's going to happen. It's at this point just speculation of, well, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. So you're in this funk. I'm in this funk. I'm feeling this like I want to shake it off. And everything that we are modeled and everything that we are taught is to move away from that space, to move away from that like yucky feeling and find a way to just like go do something to distract yourself until you feel happy. So, what are some things you can do to shake out the funk? But also, why do you not have to? So, I think that we place too high a value on the idea of being happy. And in particular, the idea of being happy all the time. There's a reason that the course that I've created is called Manifesting a Million Moments of Joy, not manifesting happiness. Joy to me is a deep, soul fulfilling emotion. It's lasting. It's like an effervescent feeling that wells up from the deepest part of you. Happiness is lighter. It's more fleeting. Happiness can come from, something like, hey, that real hot guy just like totally checked me out. That's kind of the happy feeling. Versus joy, which might be, My love comes home and he gives me a wonderful hug and just says, I love you and I'm really glad to be here with you. That's joy. Those are different emotions. Happiness, like I said, more fleeting, whereas joy is that deep, abiding feeling. Joy is what we pull on, I think, when we're really in the depths of darkness. We think we're chasing happiness, we're actually looking for joy. And joy can move through all the times of our lives. So when we're in those places of funk, those weird gateways, those transitions, those places of like, I know something's coming. I know I'm going somewhere next, but I don't have a fucking clue what that looks like. We tap into joy, and we can feel joy even while we're in that funk. And that is super, super, super important. So when I say, what can you do to shake out the funk? What I'm sharing today is not how do you make it go away so that you can feel happy. What I'm sharing is more of how do you shake out the stuck so that you can, slowly but surely keep moving in the direction that you want and allow those moments of joy to trickle in. So as I mentioned earlier, for me, one of the big things is movement and exercise. So yesterday, as I'm feeling all these feels and also exhausted, there was no bleeping way that I was going to be doing a workout or a run. My arms were so sore. I definitely hit my hand with a hammer on Saturday. So that was super fun. Everything was tired. And I'm like, okay, today is not the day for a workout, but tomorrow I'm going to shake things up a little, and I'm going to, read in the morning and then hit the treadmill. And I haven't hit the treadmill for quite some time, actually. But I love the movement. I love running. It's a gorgeous day. One could beg the question, why not run outside? I wanted to be on the treadmill. I don't know why. That's just where I wanted to be. So that's where I went. That movement, and then just listening to some music. And I know when I'm in a real funk and I really don't know what's going on, when I can't decide on a playlist. And I'm like, okay, I know the vibe that I'm going for, but none of these playlists seem to have it. So I'm just bouncing all over the place. But what that does is it loosens out the stuck, in particular from my physical body. So I think in general tend to get very stuck in our head. When we're in that place of that funk, that weirdness, that you're in a stationary space, we start to spiral, and that spiraling is a mental stuckness. Well, the really simple, easy way to shake out some of that mental stuckness is to physically move yourself. Now, that could look like a workout for you. It could look like a run. It could look like just going for a walk. Maybe you spend a little bit of time gardening or pulling some weeds. I don't know. Maybe you decide that I'm going to clean the bathroom. That's moving my body. It's something, maybe it's a yoga class, whatever. But doing something to move your physical body will help to loosen off that sense of stuck energy. And really that's all that you're trying to do, is to move that stuck energy a little bit so that you can allow things to flow through. If you think about your body kind of like a river, if we created a dam in the river, then you might have some water trickling through, but you have this tremendous buildup of energy and power just sitting, kind of going nowhere, but creating this massive pressure. When you do something to move your body, you're dismantling that dam. You're taking it apart piece by piece to allow that pent up energy and emotion and power to move again, which is really, really important. We need to let those pieces move. I can't guarantee it's going to give you clarity. I can't guarantee that you're going to feel better afterwards. You might finish a workout and be like, I feel kind of the same, only now I'm sweaty, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't have to go in with this intention that it has to be something better. that it has to have a specific outcome. We can let go of that. Really good way to shake out of those places of stuckness, out of those places of being in a funk, is to let go of this attachment that it has to be a certain way when we're done, right? So I think that's the big thing that I wanted to share today is, find a way to check in with yourself, let go of this need, this driving desire, I suppose, to chase happiness, because happiness itself is fleeting, and watch for those places where you're feeling stuck, and don't feel like those are not okay. It's okay. In fact, it's really important. One of the keys to feeling joy or happiness or calm or fun or laughter or any of those things is the other side of those coins, right? How do you know what happiness feels like without the contrast of feeling sad? How do you know what real joy feels like without the comparison of having deep sadness or heartache or hurt, right? We avoid those lower frequency emotions like the fucking plague. We're terrified that feeling sad is somehow going to kill us. It's not. It's just an emotion. We ascribe way too much meaning to these emotions, and we give them way too much power. So shaking out that funk, getting yourself out of this place of stuckness is not you saying, hey, I'm not okay with feeling this way. It's you saying, hey, I'm feeling this way, and that's fine, and I'm going to take intentional steps so that I can help myself move through those, right? You're not saying, I refuse to feel sad. You're saying, I feel sad, and I want to let that move through and process through. That's really the point. We also, on the other side of things, you can't hang on to happy so hard, right? It's kind of like you think about a puppy. Puppies, I've yet to find a person on this planet that a puppy doesn't make happy. A cute little puppy of whatever variety. But if you hold on to that puppy too tight, you kill the puppy. That's not a happy thing, right? Part of the joy of puppies is their energy and their vivaciousness and their cute little faces and the fact that they kind of do unpredictable things and that they just run around and they play and they have no sense of what's the word I'm looking for? It's like self-consciousness. They're just joy embodied. And then they crash hard, they go to sleep because that's what puppies do, right? So we can't hang on so hard to this idea of being happy or having to create joy that we actually squelch it. And you don't need to hang on to sadness either. All right. So now I am talking in circles, which tells me that I have finished what I need to tell you today. So I hope this message finds you well today. If you are interested to learn more about manifesting a million moments of joy, I invite you to go check out the page, amyvanmeijl.com/joy. I will have the link in the show notes because you probably can't spell my last name. And I'm also going to tag into that one of the things that I'm that I'm actually just opening up is coaching. I've worked with a number of really amazing people over the last few years in particular in a very intentional way. And I have this drive and this desire to help others go hard after their dreams. So if you get to the website, amyvanmeijl.com, you'll also find that I have one-on-one coaching packages available. If you're ready for growth in whatever way that looks like, I almost said you're ready for that next step. It is a next step. When you make the decision to engage a coach or a therapist or whatever, some kind of a teacher that's coming alongside you, you are intentionally making a step towards growth. If you're ready for that and you've been looking for someone to come alongside you and help you move in the direction of the dreams that you almost are afraid to admit to yourself, then I encourage you to check out the coaching options I've set up for you. I have benefited a lot from coaching over the years in many, many different forms. One of the things that I found at times was missing that really frustrated me was, as much as a coach can come alongside you and help hold up a mirror, I didn't always find the unconditional support that I kind of needed. And in fact, I've had coaches who talked down, some of my big goals, which was very hard. It broke a lot of trust for me. When I work with people, I'm never, how do I say this? I'm never going to tell you that your dreams aren't attainable. And I don't believe in coddling, which is not to say that you're going to be like browbeaten, because I don't believe that gets any kind of results. But if you are ready for that next step and you want someone to come alongside you, help you grow, help hold up a mirror, and really to believe ferociously in you and what you're capable of, that might be me. So check out the website and look at the coaching packages. I would recommend, probably a great starter is the 3-session package. It's 3 sessions. It is what it says it is. But it gives you a good start to see, maybe you and I aren't a great fit. But if we are, it's a great way to get started. And then I have a few longer term packages as well available. All right. With that, I wish you an amazing rest of the day. I'm going to go out and play in some sunshine. Talk to you soon. Bye.